Check. We are hot.
We're hot.
We're hot.
Chris.
Yes. Hey guys, welcome to Overcrest. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake.
And we have our good friend Joel Fetter from Motor Authority here with us again this month. It's great to have you here.
What's up, guys?
So we've got some good news for you guys, but I want to dig in a little bit to on Joel a little bit. Because we haven't talked about Mr. Fetter.
Who is Joel Fetter?
Who is Joel
this
Fetter?
This is a black nebulous hole we're going down.
Who is Joel Fetter and why do we care?
Oh, wow. That's like... We don't have time for that. This podcast isn't long enough for that.
Before we get into that, though, why don't you run down one of our sponsors?
Yeah, let's take a quick break to tell you about Renline. They've partnered with us, as you know, to offer a great discount to our listeners. And Chris, you actually just installed some Renline product yourself on your car.
I got the hood struts.
Right, which is a really cool product. They're mechanical.
I think that's kind of like the old 356 was, and you push the hood up.
Right.
And it locks into place, and then you let the hood down, and it sets on a catch.
Exactly.
And it rotates. So there's something in there that's rotating. So
Did the 356 rotate like that as well?
No, it's not.
It's like my old MG I had where it was like a strut that just
The only problem
catched.
is that the hood is also really heavy. So when you open it up and it goes down again, you have to be aware that you don't want to lose any fingers or drop it or break your hood latch or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I suppose not. But as with those hood struts and everything else, they're extremely high quality, beautifully machined. And as you know, Renline designs performance products not only for Porsche, but also for BMW, Mini, Audi, and others. So be sure to check those guys out at renline.com and use the code OVERCREST to get 5% off your next order, along with free shipping on orders over $250.
So Joel looks a little bit like Charlie Brown right now, so I'm going to quick fix the... Oh, no, it's the cord in front of his head. Hold on.
Did we think he was having a bad hair day? Or?
It's all falling out. It doesn't really matter. If we do this podcast long enough, I keep coming on here. Eventually, we're just going to start shaving.
It'll be the progression.
We're all just going to get fatter and balder. There should be a time lapse. All right. Anyway, so what other cars have you owned, Joel? Because right now you have what?
Right now, I have a 1990 300ZX Z32 Nissan sitting in my garage.
And where did this car come from?
So it's a special car. You know the story. It was my Uncle Robert's, and he bought it in 1990. He had multiple Zs before that. And I rode around the back. It's a 2+2 because he used it to basically drive from Far North Dakota to our lake cottage, 45 minutes in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, on the weekends. And I rode around the back as a kid. We go down to the store in the back in the 2+2, get my grandmother newspaper, he'd get whatever, and I ride back. He died of cancer in 97, and the car sat for 11 years in storage. And then my dad bought it from my aunt in 2008 or 9 or something like that. And we did a few things. It needed, this or that. And now it lives in my garage. It's got 59,000 original miles on it. And
wow.
You've actually been putting some miles on it this summer. It makes me happy.
I put 81 miles on it in one night. So last year, so Chris says that because last year I did 275 miles the whole summer.
The whole year, then.
Well, hang on. It only goes out in summer, right?
Summer is all the time.
So it's literally only 200 some miles in a year.
Last year, yes. Into 2018. Dude, work, travel, going to the lake, whatever. So this year I've been doing a lot better. I've done over 350 this summer already.
Okay.
Right on.
So yeah.
My favorite thing is actually what you call this car. What's this car called?
So it literally is called Unc Z. The plates say Unc Z. The mats say Unc Z. It's so Uncle Robert was he was a lawyer. He fought for people that needed fighting for. He was a really, really, really good guy, and he was larger than life. And the stories I could tell you are very inappropriate. He's a larger than life guy, and there was a zero F's kind of mentality. You don't mess with Robert Fetter, and all the grandchildren and nieces and nephews, he was Unc, UNCK.
Gotcha.
So the license plate say Unc Z, the mats say Unc Z. I don't view myself.
Oh, they're custom mats too.
Yeah, and I don't view myself. Well, hang on, we did those, not him.
Okay.
And I don't feel all of this was us, and I don't feel his original toolkit with his pack of cards in the back, and I don't feel like my dad and I own the car. I feel like we're more the caretakers of the car.
Right.
I like that.
So it's a pretty special car. When we first got it, it didn't matter. Rain, shine, I drove it everywhere. And then I drove it at my wedding. I could have got any press car or whatever, but I drove it at my wedding because that was how Unc was there. And now today, it's become this thing where, unfortunately, I've made it into this thing. And I'm terrified to drive it in traffic. If someone you can buy another 300ZX, you can't buy Unc's 300ZX. So I'm terrified.
Well, it's blue on blue, which
is blue on blue,
rare.
Yeah. So it will become.
I saw another one was for sale.
So there's my dad has another brother, and he has a son, and he bought 2 more 300ZX after all this and restored them. they're perfect and dumped a lot of money in them. And that, so the Fetters had 3 blue on blue 300ZXs.
Oh, no kidding. They're all the same blue?
100%. They're all 1990s.
Wow.
They're duplicate cars. And only one's unks. And so my cousin ended up 2 years ago calling me and saying, I'm ready to sell it. And so I sold it to a friend at the time that worked in Nissan, but no longer works in Nissan.
Mm-hmm.
And he is now selling that car. And we're trying to keep it within my network of people that I know, to keep it within my life kind of thing. Because of he's picking up another Z. And we're not going to go into that right now. But
what, when you say another Z?
Unc Z is not leaving anywhere. Don't worry. It's not a thing. He's picking up another 300ZX.
Oh, another 300ZX. Okay.
Yes. So there. Yes, our family had 3. There is still 3 duplicate cars.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, to answer your other question, currently the other car in my garage is my wife's daily driver, which is a 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee high altitude with a Hemi V8.
Wait, what does the high altitude get you?
Does it have an extra MAF sensor?
So high altitude is basically it's a trim line. It's a blackout package. So it's a fully loaded Summit, and then they do black wheels, black trim, chrome. She thought it looked really cool with white, so the car is white.
My question is, how does more black things make it higher altitude?
No, it's because, Chris, when you're at oxygen deprivation level, you kind of get blacked out, right?
Yeah.
I guess that might be. So what is your, of all the cars you've ever owned, what is your besides the Z?
Besides the Z is the whole different thing.
What is your most favorite car?
E34 M5.
Okay. Why did you sell that car?
There's actually a story about that on Motor Authority, and then there's a story about why I didn't buy it back when I had the opportunity.
And do you feel like you should have bought it back? Now, in hindsight.
Hindsight's 2020.
Of course it is. It always is. But what is it?
Maybe.
Okay. Why did you love that car? What was good about that car?
Why I love that car?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? It all started out with me wanting to buy a E39, and then I went and moved to an E28, and I settled on an E34 as the Goldilocks for me. Personally, I felt at the time in my life, the E39 was too technologically advanced. It had stability control, traction control, a touchscreen. It had things I didn't. HID headlights. It was too modern for when I bought this.
And the E28 M5 was not modern enough.
So actually,
right?
E28, it wasn't about me not being modern enough. For me at the time when I drove it, in hindsight 2020, that car was never planned. The E34, the E39 was planned. The E28 was an accident. It wasn't planned. So the chassis and the engine were never designed to originally go together. And when I drove it, it didn't feel to me at the time, hindsight's 2020, that they were a match made in heaven for what I wanted. And then when I drove the E34, it felt like the perfect car for what I wanted at the time. Of course, now I disagree with my assessment on the engine and transmission and chassis matching, of course. But hindsight. But I have no regrets. I sold it. We moved back from Portland, Oregon to Minneapolis. The Z was here. 2 cars that couldn't drive in the winter. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's a lot of money tied up in cars you can't drive in the winter. And
that's true.
And the reality is that look how much I drove the Z last year. Between press cars and driving, flying around for work for the world and going to the lake with the family. And there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah,
that's true.
Sam Smith actually he is the reason I sold that car. He's the reason I didn't buy it again. He's a terrible good friend. wait, because he's that guy that says he speaks logic, and is smart. But then he'll go and drop X money on Integra R that he shouldn't be buying either. So like you know what I mean? Like he gives you the best advice, but then he does take it.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Totally, because then he bought that. I texted him like, but seriously, and he's like, man, I'm just like, ugh.
All right. So, of all the cars you've ever driven and you've test driven, how many cars do you think you've test driven?
You don't keep count.
Okay, he can't figure it out.
I gotta feel like I probably touch an average of 100-ish cars a year.
Okay,
and I've been doing this for 10 years.
Okay, so 100 cars a year. So that's a lot of cars.
That's a lot of cars.
Okay. So, what was the best car you've ever driven? For any purpose, let's not go, what's the best car if you have 5 kids? Or what's the best truck if you want to look like your penis
You can go to
is
Motor
enormous.
Authority for that.
Yeah. So what is of your, this is for you.
Subjective.
Okay? This is your, like if you were writing something about only what you cared about, what was your favorite car that you've ever driven?
You know, it's funny. In a lot of ways, I'm going to give you 2. The Hellcat and the Viper as cars, in a lot of ways, just speak to me. And I've driven Ferraris, Lamborghinis, AMGs, you name it, right? The Hellcat and the Viper. Those 2 cars really speak to me in a lot of ways, and they're really fun cars to write about.
What is it about those cars why do they speak to you? What is it? I mean,
So,
obviously they both have a lot of power, but it's got to
not
be
just
more
the
than
power.
that.
Yeah, it's more than that. So and for different reasons, right? So the Viper, one of the ways to speak to me is that, especially, and I've driven both the modern, like the one before it died, 2013 and 2014 or whatever, in 16, and the one before that, before they had stability and traction control and all that stuff, the one you could totally just kill yourself. The one before the last one, I remember driving in Chicago on a street with another journalist, and we were doing Too Fast, not Too Furious. And, and I looked at him and said, "Do you realize if anything goes wrong right now, we're gonna die?" And he said, "Yes." And I just mashed the pedal and said, "Let's go." But and the last one that was modern and it had the nice seats and the leather wrapped interior and the 8.4-inch touchscreen. It was, I feel, really. It carried the Viper name, and I think that people didn't like that, but I think that people didn't give it the credit it deserved. I autocrossed that thing. I drifted it around a parking lot. I drifted it through an autocross.
Hold on. Do you think people judge cars too much by their absolute edge peak performance rather than what the car is really meant to be and what it stands for? You know what I mean? Like they take the peak performance of a car and they compare it to the peak performance of this other car, but everything else kind of gets lost.
I think what you did was you morphed what I was trying to imply is that everyone judged the new Viper based on the old Viper because they still had a V10, it still had a manual, it still was rear wheel drive, but it's like the interior was far nicer than anyone gave it credit for, and it wasn't this unmanageable thing. But you had to have some level of talent. And look, I'm not a race car driver. I am not a professional driver. But I've gone to driving schools. I've done a lot of time on racetracks. I've done stuff. And that car was fun because it was engaging. I think that it was engaging and you had to manhandle it. And going sideways around Chelsea Proving Grounds in that car with me at the wheel and getting out of it and have Ralph Gilles and Andy Pilgrim compliment my driving in a car that people are terrified to drive was a high point in my job.
Do you think that there is part of it that, you know, the danger involved? Did you feel like you could conquer something with that car, that if you could eventually master that car, it would, you know, make you feel better about yourself? It would help your self-esteem?
So I think the one...
You would become a man.
The earlier one.
Exactly.
The 2010 one, the earlier one, the 2010 one, the one that legitimately didn't have stability control and all that.
Is that the Gen 2? I'm trying to remember.
It's the one.
It's Viper guys.
I'm not going to start talking gens because I don't have that on top of my head. I wasn't prepared for this conversation. But the one before the latest one, it took a 3-year hiatus. That car, which was an evolution of the one before it, that car would, yes. If you, and I never did conquer that because I never drove it off the street. I drove that twice on the street. But the last one, I drove both on the street. I drove on a racetrack. I was driven by Andrew Pilgrim, who tuned the car in an ACR around Chelsea Proving Grounds. If you didn't know what Andy Pilgrim could do and that he owned that car, you'd be terrified. I mean, what that car could do was superhero stuff at a price that was ridiculous. And it was cool. And as for the Hellcat...
Why did Dodge dump the Viper? What happened?
That's a really good question.
Safety standards, we're going to kill it.
Oh.
Of course. All right. What was the worst car you've ever driven?
That's probably harder, isn't it?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Well, harder because there's a lot. So here's the thing. Today, it's hard to buy a bad car.
Or let me say it this way. What's the worst car in the last 5 years? That's going to make it a little bit easier.
The i-MiEV was pretty bad.
The what?
The Mitsubishi i-MiEV.
Oh.
Yeah, the
they
really
had like 80
little
miles
thing.
of range. It looked like a golf cart.
Yeah.
I drove it on the highway next to a semi.
Are you serious?
Oh, it's terrifying. So I drove. So I had like 80 miles of range or whatever. So we went to my aunt and uncle, my cousins, when we were in Portland, Oregon, and I drove there. And I did the math. Pulled into the neighborhood with 0 miles.
Oh no!
We eat into the driveway, but when you're passing a semi, and they're both doing 70, and you're in what is essentially an electric golf cart,
right?
It's pretty terrifying.
I believe it.
So that was not my favorite car.
Let me ask you one more question. What was
Just
the most?
Start
Well,
charging for
there's
these.
going to be a lot of questions throughout the episode, but it had just occurred to me that this is a different question. What was the most disappointing car you've ever driven?
There's a lot of those.
Because ones that don't meet your expectations of what you're told, because you get these press releases and you get everything else. Oh, the car's supposed to be this. It's based on this blah blah blah, and you get in and you're just like, Oh no. What's that car? Have you ever gotten a car and said, "Oh no"?
Yeah. Well, or actually, the worst is when you get a car, you're like, "Damn, this thing looks good." Then you get in and you start driving, you're like, "Damn, this thing doesn't drive good." Like, you know, it was pretty disappointing. You're gonna hate this. This is because it's top of my head. It just happened this winter. I had a Toyota Corolla hybrid.
Okay.
And it got really good gas mileage. And that's really good because that's what it's supposed to do. And it makes you wonder why you buy a Prius. I was really disappointed and actually borderline not comfortable with the suspension tuning mixed with the steering and the control of that car.
Do you think it was like a weight issue? Or?
I think it was a tune of the suspension as far as the rebounding. Basically, what happened was I was on the highway. Something was in the highway. I swerved to avoid what it was in the highway, and then you swerve back. Mm-hmm. And by the time I did the second motion, the car was still rolling from the first motion, which made me wonder, which of course I didn't because it's not a controlled environment, but made me wonder if it was like in a slalom or something. If you went back and forth, by the third motion, is the car out of control?
Most likely.
Which concerns me.
I wonder if they
probably never did a slalom test with the Corolla.
But the thing is, you run on the highway, and there's crap in the highway all the time that you have to swerve to avoid.
Right. Yeah, lane avoidance maneuver. That's why it's a thing that they test for.
Other people in Toyota Corolla hybrids.
Exactly.
So that was disappointing to me.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do more Joel stuff on another Joel episode, but I want to get into, why don't you tell us about one of our sponsors, which is us.
Yeah.
Before we go into
Patreon.
the main segment here.
Yeah, so if you go to patreon.com/Overcrest, you can sign up to become a Patreon member. There are 3 different tiers to choose from, and you will get exclusive content. You'll be able to listen to episodes that are not publicly available. I do a lot of history stories. Chris does interviews and reading from some of his work on there, and you can get some cool swag from us, t-shirts, other such stuff. But really, it comes down to supporting the creators that you really enjoy.
Right, yeah, just spend a little money. It's $5. It's not even a quarter of a tank of gas, and you can support.
I like that. So someone was telling us, oh, that's like a tank of gas for the entire year, right?
Right.
And they're like, oh, I like that.
Yeah, and you can support the podcast. That's all it takes. It doesn't take much, and we'd really, really
it means
appreciate
a lot to us.
Yeah. So what's our first news topic? What have we got here?
The Cannonball EV record
has been broken twice within a day.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, it was broken. The original, you remember Alex Roy?
Yeah.
We had him on the podcast. He broke it, the record that stood from like the late 70s. He broke it in 2006 with his E39 M5.
There's a book about that.
Yes, there is. And I think he has a film, another film that's
there is
coming
a
out.
film
I have the
coming
book
out.
as well.
Film's coming out.
Yeah, so we're going to have him back on and talk about the film. It'll be great.
He's a good guy.
The New York to LA record in 2006 and his M5 was set at 32 hours, 51 minutes.
Which is just so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So that's a moving average, by the way, of 96 miles an hour.
Okay, so then that record got broken by... He also held the EV record, too, for a little while. We'll get into that. But his record was broken by Mercedes.
A CL.
Yeah, what was the time on that? I can't...
It was 28-something. 29. It's 28-something.
Yeah,
it was by Dave Black, Ed Bowling, and Dan Huang. But Ed Bowling was the main shoe. He was the man behind it. He was selling Lamborghinis.
Yeah, 28 hours, 50 minutes.
Yep.
Which is... That's
wow.
So we've got it. We're under 30 hours now. Here's the EV record set by Roy in a P90D Model S.
Right.
Was 55 hours.
Okay.
So we're still 25 hours off the pace.
Well, because think how long it takes to charge that Tesla.
So the faster you go, the less efficient you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, you got to find that balance. So it was broken just the other day by Robin Thompson and her parents, Lars and Betty. And I saw a picture of their little family. She looks like she's no way that she could actually be old enough to drive this car. She's very young.
Yeah, who is this?
She's very, very young, and she's got her family. They did it in 48 hours and 10 minutes with 19 supercharger stops. And according to the family, the Tesla's autopilot advanced driver assistance system helped reduce the fatigue normally associated with long runs. And that record stood for 1 day. Kyle Connor of Out of Spec and co-driver Matthew Davis took their own Tesla Model 3 from New York to Los Angeles in just 45 hours and 16 minutes. They did not use the autopilot, which is probably why they won, right? They were going for speed. And they also had the long-range rear-wheel drive variant of the car, which is probably the most efficient. And I was trying to think if this makes me mad or not that these, the people are chasing these records, and I decided no. As long as people are still chasing records, having a good time, and pushing the envelope in transportation, I'm down. I'm good with it.
So this family that did it in the 48 hours, the record that stood for one day, did they even need to break the speed limit then?
I honestly have no idea.
You know what I mean?
Could you imagine being them? They're like, yeah, oh,
I know. That's terrible.
So I looked up some of the other. I was like, well, how long would it take to do it in some of these other cars? But back in the day in 1909, they did an ocean-to-ocean race. Hat tip to the future history episode that you should do on this.
No kidding.
The ocean-to-ocean race of 1909 took a Model T 23 days.
Wow.
Imagine what your butt would feel like after 23 days in a Model T.
Imagine having 23 days to do that.
Well, at the time, I mean, that would have been cutting edge. I mean, I would think you'd have to be a fairly wealthy dude that's just out there like, oh, I'm going to go take Model T.
Keep in mind, too, in 1909, there was no interstate system. We did a history story on the interstate system of the U.S.
In 1909, there was barely a road system.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you meant last week, I think it was, that we mentioned that the Netflix show for F1 is coming. Yeah, which was awesome. And
it's like a documentary.
And I complained about how I wasn't really interested in seeing the new, the new one with Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes and Ferrari. I actually liked that they were left out, and we got to focus on the
middle of the
pack. Yeah. So, but here's the thing: Netflix was granted access to Mercedes for one race. The German Grand Prix, and they were celebrating a 200th Grand Prix anniversary. They even had a one-off livery. It was all set to be amazing.
Okay,
but Mercedes blew it.
Oh no!
Yeah, Bottas went off and had lunch with the wall. Hamilton finished poorly, spinning twice. So he says, "quote I won't be in the Netflix show much because I was sick the whole time. I won't allow them to release that."
What?
Right. As far as I could tell, Hamilton, as usual, when things don't go his way, he cries about everything. He's a total baby. He said he spent much of the. It's known that he spent much of the latter half of the race complaining about his tires and blaming the team for his track position. After his second spin, he asked for the team to retire his car. Classy.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was sick. I think he was an asshole in the garage and in the pits.
I mean, I watched that show. I mean, I'm assuming based on this, you watched that show.
Yep.
Did you watch the first season?
No, I didn't.
So I watched the first season of that, and I agree with you. At first, I was frustrated that they didn't have Ferrari Mercedes because I wanted a holistic view.
Yep.
But as I started watching it, and each episode focused on, for those that haven't watched, each episode of the show focused on a different team, but they interchanged throughout because it's F1. I appreciated that we saw all the inside of the teams that weren't the leaders of Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yep. Because we never really get to see them throughout the season.
Yeah, but and otherwise they probably just would have been whatever the top 2-3 teams are.
Right, but what I realized through that is that you really did see, and I'm sure we saw bits, right? But you really did see the good, the bad, and the ugly. There were not always the best moments during that show. Yep. There were bad moments and bad lights on people at their worst and at their best.
But I don't mind that.
I think it's racing. Good. I think it's
the
real.
Drama.
Exactly. So the fact that it bothers me, I was excited that Mercedes and Ferrari were going to come in because now they set the stage for the last one. It was going to be a holistic thing that was include this step in the world this time, right? And so, because they weren't going to change the formula, it's going to get one episode per manufacturer.
Right.
But when I saw this on Monday or whatever day this all broke, and it was like, of course. Like, come on, man. Like, you're on the show. If you're going to do the show, do it like everyone else. The good, the bad, the ugly is what it is. This is racing.
The fans aren't going to like Lewis Hamilton less because he was frustrated that he was having a bad day at the track.
Everyone has a bad day.
Everybody has a bad day.
And it's not a fun bad day.
And everybody likes to pick on Lewis Hamilton, which is fine, but he's kind of a jerk. And now I really want to see the episode of him crying like a baby in the garage, which I didn't really want to before. I just wouldn't have thought about it, but now I really
that he doesn't want to.
I really want to see him suffer. All right, so the HLDI, which stands for
the Highway Loss Data Institute,
which is part of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, otherwise known as the IIHS, has revealed the most stolen vehicles list. Now
the loss data division. That makes sense now.
Yeah, basically this is if you file the claim for a loss or whatever. Why? So when you look at this list, what do you notice, guys?
Well, the first two are
the first two are the same kind of car.
Mm-hmm.
These are all basically V8 hot rods.
Yeah.
Or trucks.
Actually,
Nissan Maxima.
every single car on here except for one either has or can be had with a V8.
So the first one is the Charger Hemi, and then it's the SRT Hellcat, and there's a bunch of Infinities no one cares about. And then later on is the Dodge Challenger, Silverado, Chrysler 300, Mercedes-Benz, Dodge Charger, Durango. Lots of Dodge on here.
Yeah,
Lots
I'm
of
noticing
So
that.
there's a very, very high crime rate and steal rate with Dodges in Detroit.
What's the deal? Where are these cars going?
So chop shops. There was a huge story actually.
Are these number matching? Do they have VIN numbers or etching on any of these engine blocks, or are they just?
So look, I don't know the whole story. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know someone I can connect you with. Josh Welton, who's Brown Dog Welding on Instagram. He's friends of mine. He's in Detroit. He's a welder, but he's written for Jalopnik, written Trek, and all that stuff. And he had his Hellcat stolen and stripped down. He had a press car Hellcat stolen and stripped down. And he went and started investigating like the corruption with the cops. Like there's a whole ring of this stuff going on in Detroit.
Corruption with the cops, even?
So I don't know the whole story. That's why I don't want to like get quoted on it. But I mean, there's like a whole issue with this. So the fact that these top the list, at least due to the propensity of this in Detroit, this doesn't surprise me.
So what's the process? You steal one of these, you strip it down, you take out the engine.
You ship everything. I mean, I saw his car.
Then what? Does it just go on
Do you
eBay?
sell it for parts?
So
though?
I saw his car in the junkyard. I mean, it literally was stripped down, dude.
So where does
like,
this
the
stuff
interior
go?
was gutted.
eBay? Craigslist? Where are these parts going?
Or
Probably.
is it just for scrap?
No way.
They're getting dumped into other cars.
If you were doing that, you'd steal Chrysler minivans or something.
You buy a V6 Charger, you slap a Hellcat engine in, and off it goes into a used car lot or your buddy.
Mm.
But can that be happening that much?
That's what I don't get.
In Detroit, it's happening a lot.
Yeah,
So
but
there's
who's
just
It's
buying?
legitimately, there's news articles about this.
Who's
Alright.
buying these cars though that have
I
all
don't
these
know.
Hemis swapped?
I don't know.
Okay.
The interesting thing, so on this list, the one that caught my eye
Yeah,
is
I know what you're gonna.
Mercedes-Benz S-Class. How do you steal a Mercedes-Benz?
Or look
I
a
don't
little
know. You
further
just
down, that
drag it on
Audi A7 too.
A lot of these cars just get dragged. They've got their emergency brake on. They're in park.
Do you
Whatever.
think so?
They just get dragged onto a flatbed and they're just gone.
But still, you need a coded key that's electronic for that. Like, it's not that you've watched Gone in 60 Seconds. It's not that hard. It's not that easy, man.
And then you lose your keys because
And
the
then
dog ate
eats
it.
them. You've seen the script for this.
That's why the Eleanor was the best car. You didn't need
So
it.
hold on though,
God,
with all the
Eleanor.
Dodges on there, are they easier to steal? Is this the Honda Civic from the 90s? Of,
Well, none of those other cars have 700 horsepower either.
There's also that. And
Right.
those engines are worth money.
yeah.
All right. So more regulation news coming out of the European Union. They're going to be making cars even boringer.
Okay.
Boringer.
Boringer. I'm going to use that made-up word just because it sounds
It
better.
fits.
So Mercedes-AMG has warned its incoming generation of new sports cars will be noticeably quieter than in the past due to tightening European sound restrictions. The head of product planning for Mercedes-AMG, Bastian Bogenschutz, said all markets, including Australia, would be affected by the legislative changes. It's coming from the European regulations, Bogenschutz says. We can design specific exhausts, but it's too expensive for every market to do. It's pretty difficult. So basically what he's saying is we don't have that regulation, but they're not going to make a special exhaust just so it's louder in the United States.
Exactly.
Right. So, but this
It's
is
actually interesting you should say that because there are a few cars that are that way, like the McLaren Senna. The McLaren Senna has a different exhaust setup for the U.S. than does the Europe.
that is extremely boutique.
I'm
That's-
just saying.
That makes sense.
So this is basically going to happen to BMW, Porsche, Audi, anything manufactured in Europe
Yeah,
is
you're
going to
probably
be.
right. Well, it's to your point though. Maybe the higher end you go up there, Porsche might find it profitable to actually make a different exhaust system or a different exhaust tuning because they all have the
Or offer
different
to you for money
exhaust
right
flaps
alongside
and
the fact
everything
that you
else.
can pay for painted badges or not painted badges or different
Right.
seat belts. You can pay for a louder exhaust.
There
Do you
you
know
go.
the Alfa Romeo 4C? You pay for them to make your exhaust louder. Do you know what you pay them to do? Remove your mufflers. You pay them
Mm-hmm.
to not put mufflers on your car.
That's not something new.
So broadly,
Awesome.
though, you're going to be able to enjoy your quiet, speed limited sports car in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So in a few years, you're not going to.
Joy is a weird word for that.
Well, this is sarcasm. Of
Oh,
course.
okay. I'm just
So
making
you
sure.
Are
basically-
you not picking up on that?
You're going to be
It's
driving
dripping.
your
It's
car
dripping.
that is limited to the speed that's posted,
Right.
and it's not going to be able to be loud. Why would you buy an AMG or a 911?
Well,
Why?
at that point, because that guy's more horsepower in the badge than the guy next to you, dude.
True.
Come on.
I don't know.
You spent more money than Jake, and so he knows it. So that means you're a better person than him.
You know who this is good news for, though?
Dodge?
Exhaust manufacturers, aftermarket.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
How many modern AMGs or BMW? Well, BMW's got actinophobic or whatever that's called. But how many? Whatever. Carbon fiber tips with titanium, whatever's. Bro, how many AMGs do you see with aftermarket exhaust these days? Really, truly,
None.
exactly.
No, none.
It's very, very small because
The only one I see is BMW and a few Audis.
Porsche guys do it too.
It's not boutique, but I just count that as a whole different thing because we're talking about like luxury cars.
Agreed.
Okay.
I mean, we're straight up talking about.
Chris, why doesn't your AMG have exhaust on it?
Because it has an AMG exhaust and it sounds great.
You know, someone asked me once why I didn't change out my exhaust on my M5, and I looked at them and I was like, what? Why would I do that?
To make it louder.
It has ITBs. It wasn't quiet.
See, that's another thing I've been meaning to talk about. Is last night I was driving.
You're driving home from our little meet, our get together.
Yeah, the get together here at the brewery across the street. And this car emerges in front of me, and it's kind of bouncing a little bit. It was really like this stiff car. And I look at the license plate, and it just says... I
saw this on your Instagram.
Yeah, it just says 86 Levin. And I'm like, what? No way. So then I turned...
AE86.
AE80. It was a right-hand drive, AE86, which clearly has individual throttle bodies.
Dude, I heard it on your Instagram. It sounded good.
I flipped out because I just had my phone out videoing him driving by. I'm
totally safe, by the way.
Yep.
It was late. There's no one around but me and him. And the sound that it made was amazing. But you know what the problem is? My car makes no induction noise whatsoever. None.
See, that was my E34 M5 had a first generation version of a dual intake plenum because the plenum had valves in it and it would open at about 3,300 RPM.
Right,
and you hear this whoosh of air, and then ITBs would open, and it was like, wah, wah, and so good. I miss my car.
My 911 has induction noise.
It does, yeah. It certainly does. I wish mine did. Too bad induction noise doesn't come with horsepower necessarily.
You're not wrong.
All right, so I picked this cool story up off of Motor 30. It's this guy that just will not stop driving his Model T.
Okay.
Which is great. So Randall Pitman has owned his 1927 Model T pickup for 70 years, and he still drives it to this day, starting it with a hand crank every time.
How many times has he broken his wrist? Aren't those notorious for kicking back?
I don't think those have enough.
I've honestly never tried to start them out.
Those probably don't have enough compression to kick back. I don't think it's very...
I think they have 3 cylinders.
Yeah, they're not... I don't know that they're serious.
They're not that big of engine, dude.
That was a thing, though, with hand crank starts.
Yeah, with bigger engines.
Yeah, with like the inline 8s.
Remember,
and
Model
stuff
T,
like that.
first car, assembly line, Henry Ford.
4.5
I'm aware.
So Pitman said he would travel 373 miles to a show from his home. However, he planned to transport the Model T on a flatbed to make sure none of the hard-to-source parts would break. Pitman claimed it's not the truck can't make it. He simply just doesn't want to chance it. Like so many cars and still in the hands of original owners, Pitman's story is one of our hard work and passion. He told the broadcast company that he saved up for the Model T pickup while working at a gas station. He knew the truck was heading to auction soon, and while making 10 cents an hour, he brought $50 worth of savings to the auction house.
Wow.
There, he bid $45 for the Model T pickup, then outbid himself to land on the final sale price of $47.50. That was $19.49, and he's been driving it ever since.
Wait, did he accidentally outbid himself?
No, I'm sure somebody probably just bid and then he just bid. Either that or he's like, I really, really just want to make sure I get it. I got $50. How much is the buyer's premium?
Yeah, exactly.
So I just love that story of that man. It reminded me
He's 87.
It reminded me of Lloyd. You know, this guy's got to be a little bit like Lloyd.
For sure.
Yeah.
See, this is the kind of stuff, when I saw it, right? I mean, CNBC first reported it. This is the kind of stuff I love covering, though. Like, it's not just a feel-good story. Like, this is what you're talking about. Like, this is what it's about. This is about the passion of automobiles. And, like, the new cars don't have that.
No, they certainly don't. Nobody's going to be driving their Tesla Model 3 in however many years?
70?
70 years?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I still drive this thing, even though the battery...
and the touch screen is still great. Like, I mean, it's
97% of the pixels are burnt out, but I can still find ludicrous mode if I touch here and here. It has, like, a range
of, like, 10 miles now.
Yeah, the batteries are toast. All right, so what happened with Nissan? Do we know? Because I've gotten some reports
They didn't make a lot of money.
Why?
Yeah.
No, I know we don't know like all the details, but so they lost. They're cutting 12,500 jobs, and they're going to cut a bunch of models. So why? What happened with Nissan that they just couldn't get their shit together, and they're just, what's the deal?
They really lost a lot of money.
Why? Why aren't they
Were people
selling
not
cars?
buying cars?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. We didn't cover this story. I saw it. I read it. I don't.
This is more like broadly arching, though. Like, why is Nissan not selling cars, do you think?
Well, so you've got a mix of things, right? You've got the enthusiast models, which are aging. GTR is not new. 370Z is over 10 years old.
That's my thing.
And then, but they don't make a lot of money.
No, but it's the flagship of your brand.
Right.
And the flagship of your brand
is aging. They don't make a lot of money. And then the cars that are your volume cars, the Pathfinder, which is a full-size crossover SUV. And then you've got your Murano, mid-size crossover SUV, which is the heart of the market. The Rogue. These cars, they're priced right, but the reason they're priced right is to cut at the soft underbelly because they're really not compelling. Whether and you pick your reason, right? Like they're all safety tests, but they're not the most fuel efficient vehicles in their class. They're not the most technological vehicles in their class. They are really comfortable. Actually, their front seats are really comfortable in all three. But there's not a huge compelling reason why they're the class leader at X, except for the Rogue, which has the new driver assist feature ProPilot, which is a really advanced driver assist feature, and it's pretty good in its class. But that alone isn't an only reason to buy a vehicle. They're not class leading is the problem. And the competition is really new, and these vehicles aren't. The Pathfinder is old now.
The
Murano's old.
Everything's moving really, really, really fast.
Everyone's model cycles have been pulled up a lot.
And they're just dragging their feet. And I can't understand
they
how
a ton of their stuff.
A company like this, how do they do this? Now, here's the question. Do you think that the Murano convertible will never happen again?
That's what needs to happen to save them, Joel.
I do not think it's coming back.
Come on.
So what models are they going to get rid of, do you think? The Maxima?
So this is just me guessing, right? I would bet you Maxima's on the chopping block. I really don't want to believe 300, 350, 370Z is. I don't know, though. I would say...
What are their trucks?
Titan, but that's really only U.S. It's not built anywhere else. It's not sold really anywhere else. And really, they made huge strides in the truck sales. But if you have a really small percentage of sales, any percentage of sales is a lot of sales.
Right.
But their trucks are actually, look, the Detroit 3 know how to build a truck. If there's anything in America we know how to build, it's a freaking truck.
Right.
But the Titan has a compelling argument. There is a compelling argument. Whereas I said that the Pathfinder isn't a compelling argument unless it's a value. The truck, there are certain things about that truck that are compelling for, I would say, a small buyer case.
And it's not, but that's not going to save the brand.
That's not going to save the brand. Look, the Nissan Leaf hedged a lot of bets. They were jumping into electrification.
About the Leaf.
And
they were too early.
Well, the problem is that I don't think it was too early. I think that they didn't jump far enough after it. They sat on it.
Yeah.
It took too long for the second generation. The second generation Leaf is kind of like Leaf 1.5. It's really not 2.0.
Does all this make you sad?
Yes.
I mean,
very
as
sad.
a Nissan fan, I mean, you must be.
I grew up in Federal history. Chrysler, Imperials and stuff. Then they went to Maximas, Nissan, Datsuns. Then they went to German, Mercedes, and Audi. So that's my family progression through vehicles.
Yep.
Grandparents, uncles, aunts, parents.
Everyone just follows suit
So there was
in the
a
family.
huge part of my family that at a period in time was Nissan Datsun. My mom, when I was born in 86, bought the last rear-wheel drive generation Maxima. Blue on blue, by the way. My dad had a 280Z. My uncles both had Zs. Yeah, it makes me sad. I'd like to see them put money into Zs. I'd like to see competitive product.
They don't. It's not going to.
Now they don't have the resources.
I think it started like this: chicken before the egg, or the egg before the chicken thing, right?
Right.
So they came out with a bunch of cars, the Z cars, and they came out with the Skyline, and things looked good for them at the time. And then they didn't update them. They lost sales. So then they didn't have any money to update the cars. So they lost sales. So they didn't have any money to update the cars. So they lost sales. And now here they are cutting 12,500 jobs. And they're going to cut a bunch of models, probably mostly cars, just like everybody else is doing.
Right.
And they're going to just go lean and struggle to stay. So our Skyline update, who knows when that's actually going to happen now.
The problem is, and there's some people in the comments, and some of them are journalists, and I know them. The reality is this. It's really simple. If you have a product lineup and your competition is going really fast and you're not, your sales won't be there.
Right.
You need a compelling product at a compelling price in today's market. And if you don't have that, you can't just offer a cheap car. It doesn't work. And by the way, they're fleeting a lot of their stuff. The Sentra, Versa, Rogue, they no longer make the
Well, you can
Mini,
only
the
sell
Pathfinder.
so many cars to
is that
Enterprise.
profitable
But
to
also,
do that?
So it is in the short term, but the long run, it screws you because it destroys your resale value. Because when they dump out of the fleets, you flood the market with all these used cars, and so it destroys the resale value on your cars.
All right. So next is I've got bad news for you guys.
What?
The Chevy Malibu is dead.
Oh, we're cutting the next segment.
Yeah, we're just gonna skip it.
Oh, it's really bad. I would actually almost say.
You want to talk about that?
I'd
one?
rather talk about that than Malibu.
Okay. So the
Malibu,
whole
by the way, there's no
Sorry,
official
Malibu.
on the Malibu, and their rumor is 2024. So we got time.
hold on. I'm using that to transition to something else. But so what you want to talk though is Volkswagen's cutting their warranty, and I have a theory on this.
Okay, you have a theory, but
Okay.
hang on. Here's what I want to introduce this with. Hey guys, we screwed up on emissions and we cheated and we got fined and we really had to almost sell brands like Lamborghini. You talked about Ducati, and so we're gonna really go home on our warranty and make people believe in us again.
Yeah.
Oh, this is costing us a shit ton of money. Screw it. Let's chop our warranty back. They looks at notes. That's a bad idea.
After following Volkswagen forever, because I've owned Volkswagens my whole driving life. You have. I think it was when they had Mark IVs or early Mark Vs. It was 5 years, 60,000 mile warranty, or a 5 year, 50,000 mile warranty. It was good, and then it went back to something worse. It went to 3 years, 30, and then it went back up again to 5 years, 50.
3 year 36, by the way, is kind of average.
Right. So they go back and forth, and I think that they do a huge warranty for marketing purposes, and then they reel it back.
They did
and
a
then
huge
again,
warranty
they're going to do
after Dieselgate. They need to instill confidence, and they need to give you... Dude, when someone called me and said, I'm looking at Tiguan, I'm like, dude, it's a great car. P.S. It has a shit ton of warranty on it. You should buy that car, the new Tiguan. The new Tiguan, it's a great car.
But it's not.
But for America, not you, Chris. But the problem is that now it's like, what's great about it? They just
Here's
cut
the
their
problem:
warranty.
is that their cars are not reliable right now, which is a huge issue.
Hang on. You just said now. I'd like to hear a point when Volkswagen cars were known for reliability.
90s, the Mark IVs were also reliable.
I'm still waiting to hear when Volkswagen and Audi VAG products were known for reliability.
No, but they were fairly reliable. I mean,
Well, relatively
I feel like I
reliable.
can't take you seriously right now.
Relatively, because
talking-
Joel, you're right.
Right. They've never been
okay,
reliable.
I'm talking in context of what they were.
Yeah.
Hang
Now,
on. So you're talking about
relatively
so
speaking.
in the world of VAG, of Volkswagen Auto Group, in the 90s they were reliable in that vacuum. Okay.
Compared
for there.
to themselves earlier.
Compared to like the 2000s. Okay, sure, fine. I'll buy that.
okay, so the cars that are being made now in the last 10 years or so are all direct injection,
Right.
Turbo, high compression, and they're-
Plastic everything.
They're all unreliable. The timing chains fail. They stretch. The guides fail. The fuel pumps fail. The camshafts fail, sending motor throughout the whole motor. They're having huge reliability issues. And what I mean is in contrast to, say, like a 2002 Volkswagen Golf 1AT, which is a decently reliable car if you just change the timing belt.
I was gonna say, except for that timing belt.
But that's
Didn't they have sludge issues?
not
No,
back
not
then.
those.
No.
Not back then. Just wait. They come out.
Yeah, that's
when they were new, they didn't, Joel.
Well, that's what I'm
give it
saying.
20,000 years.
As soon as they transitioned to all over this new direct injection stuff is when everything went to shit and all got unreliable. So I'm sure that this warranty thing just cost them a ton of
That's
money.
it. It's a cost-cutting measure. It's 1,000% a cost-cutting measure. Not 100%. It's 1,000%.
All right, well, we'll see what they do.
So hold on,
they'll
though.
bounce back. The thing is, they have a ton of money. Volkswagen's enormous. They have tons of money.
I don't know if you know this, but they just got fined a ton. In fact, Audi CEO just went to jail. Ex-CEO.
I can't keep track of how many Volkswagen people are going to jail.
A lot. That's what happens when you try to like cheat the system and then gas monkeys.
And gas people.
I wasn't going. They're Germans. I'm Jewish.
Yeah, but
I wasn't going to go down that road.
Poor monkeys.
Well,
You know the poor monkeys.
all right, so
Anyway,
the Malibu!
The Malibu.
Malibu's dead.
So hang on. That was not confirmed. The word on the street is the Malibu's dying
I don't
in
care.
2024.
I don't care that the Malibu's actually dead. But,
But it's
why?
on this
But
list.
it's an iconic
It is.
brand, Chris.
My thing is that no one cares about the Malibu. Fine, but what cars do you wish were going to be dead by 2024?
85% of the crossover SUVs.
I was going to say
Yeah.
all
No,
crossovers.
there are a few good. There are a few.
I could go without the crossovers.
There are
I
a
could
few.
just as a
Hang
thing.
On. Few
Yeah.
of them are legitimately lifted hatchbacks.
We need to get rid of all of them. That way people forget that they want them, and then
Yeah, but then there's no cars left on the market, so
everybody's driving it.
Everybody wants. I do. Let's
Everybody's
bring
driving
wagons
an
back.
F-150.
Let's bring back wagons.
All right, so Dodge knows what's up. Motor Authority story. Anyone considering a Dodge Challenger, Charger, or Durango has one more reason to pull the trigger: cash on the hood. Dodge on Thursday announced a cash incentive program that ups the dollar figure the higher up the horsepower ladder you go. The program, which applies to all 2019 Challenger, Charger, and Durango models ordered from August 1st, provides buyers with $10 for every horsepower their intended purchase produces.
That's awesome.
So basically,
Wait.
the more horsepower, the more money off.
Dodge calls them power dollars.
Yes.
Down with this.
Yeah. So, for example, opt for the 797 horsepower Challenger SRT Hellcat Red Eye, and you'll get a cash allowance of $7,970 towards your purchase. At the other end of the spectrum is the 305 horsepower Challenger, which nets you $3,000. They said Dodge has more horsepower than anyone else, and we want to share it and give those who have always wanted more the ability to get more. Tim Kuniskis, head of passenger cars at blah, 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 said in a statement.
That's a cool promo.
So realistically, I mean, everybody does cash back. This is just a really cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Power dollars.
I like
Power dollars.
I like that. Not to be the party pooper, right?
Oh, come on, man.
Hang on, I like the power dollars, but hang on. Like you said, key point. Everyone does cash on the hood.
Right. But
Chevy Silverado at Ford F-150, you can get cash on the hood on these cars, right? This is a great marketing thing. If someone went to business marketing school, this is a great marketing thing. The other thing I'll say is the more cars they sell with all these high horsepower, the more money they have to spend to go and buy credits from Tesla.
Oh.
Remember, because these aren't very fuel efficient.
Yeah,
vehicles.
carbon credits.
Yeah.
What's the extra? Or these get gas guzzler tax?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How much does that cost on
It depends on the car. It depends on Hellcat's different than just a 5.7.
Right. Well, what's a Hellcat cost? Do we have any idea? Just
$1,000.
Whatever, on an $80,000 car, that's not that big of a deal.
Remember, you're gonna get like 13 miles.
Well, you can use your power bucks for that.
Power bucks, baby.
Pressman Auto, which is a Ford dealership, they want you to vape.
What?
So Pressman Auto wants you to vape. Having a Ford Focus RS for sale on the lot isn't that unusual, but Pressman's offer is. On the car's listing, the dealer advertises a free vape with the car purchase.
No.
When asked if the ad were true, they said, yes, there's a vape included in the purchase of the RS. We have a vape store next to our dealership that the buyer can go to and pick out a vape. Is that the proper way to say it?
I don't think so. I think this is someone who has no idea what they're talking about.
We did that because most of the potential buyers for that car come in with vape in hand. From the website, at Pressman Auto, we are the nation's leader in selling branded title vehicles. That means totaled, right?
That means salvage title.
Yeah.
They were totaled out the insurance company and then someone bought it. Yep.
So
we pioneered this industry beginning in 1989 and have remained the longest standing dealer in Utah that sells branded title vehicles.
I feel like that's something to be proud of.
I don't think so either.
But
maybe
that explains their clientele with everyone coming in vape in hand.
Yeah, well, maybe you should be asking for a Carfax instead of a vape pen. So I was trying to think, and I couldn't think of too many because you guys all got here, and I was trying to figure it out. Okay, so I was thinking of other cars that something that should be given away for free with the car. So I was thinking Mazda Miata. You should get a propane Weber grill with your Miata.
By the way, I like the two that you clearly want to talk about. You blacked out, so we couldn't see.
Yes.
What you
Oh my
saying.
goodness,
That's incredible.
I can't wait.
And the Nissan Murano convertible,
Which is no longer sold.
which is no longer sold.
Cabriolet.
I don't care. Should come with a Harley Sportster.
Hey, now. Hey.
Wow.
Chris.
Hang on. Didn't you just buy one of those?
I did just buy a sports car. Hey, Joel, how many miles did you put on your Z so far this year?
380 some.
I put that on in the last 5 days on my Sportster.
As you walked in
It was
here,
my uncle's car.
he was growling and grumbling when he walked in there. And your face was all smushed and hot and red.
Sucked.
Yeah,
But it's fun, Chris.
Sucks, but it's fun.
You know what it was? If you haven't listened to our history story about the history of the motorcycle, that's kind of what inspired me and pushed me over the edge, to be honest.
I understand. I don't really.
So what about the Dodge Hellcat? What should come with that, Chris?
tires? Just
Obviously.
you should just get an extra set of tires.
What about gas cards?
Gas cars, yeah, gas cars.
Power bucks.
I'll take the tires. I think I'd probably go through those.
Tesla Model 3. I think this is a good one.
Comes with an electrician to rewire your house.
Right, for your charger. I like
So
that.
you could actually charge
In all
the thing.
honesty.
So you can charge it and use a hairdryer or a microwave.
Because otherwise you can't. the Nissan Murano convertible, the Cross Cabriolet, should come with a straw hat, though. I will say that.
I'm done with that.
Or sunscreen.
The Super Outback is on the list, and I got to tell you, what you wrote here, I disagree with.
What? I said
Depends
hugs.
which model.
Hugs and also a vape thingy.
No, it should totally come with hiking boots and a Camelback.
If it's an Outback.
It says Subaru Outback.
It says right there on the Outback on the list.
Well, then
there.
that's not a
You're right.
vape.
It should come with
Not a
probably-
vape.
Hiking
Pitman.
boots and a Camelback.
right,
Agreed.
and a rainbow flag probably.
That's actually just a Midwest thing I've heard.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
I heard a
I
rumor.
don't even think it's a Midwest thing. I think it's just a stereotype.
I think
Yeah, the
it's,
stereotype only exists in the Midwest.
But I don't think it's true. Like if you look at demographics anymore.
Anymore. It did for a
we'll have to look
good
into it.
chunk.
We'll look into it and figure out. What about Toyota Prius? What do you guys think that should come with?
bumper stickers.
Yes.
Political yard signs.
Yeah.
Political yard signs.
A voter registration card.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, guys, that's
about
it.
9/11?
Hold on.
Oh wait, no,
9/11.
You left this one blank.
I
Yeah.
couldn't think of anything.
What? I feel like it should be an options list.
Yeah, which one? What do you mean?
No,
options?
like-
Oh,
Options list to check off for when you're born.
You
buying
need.
your
It
car.
comes with a pen because you're gonna run out of ink with your option list. How about that?
there you go. That
Hang
works.
on, I have one last one because you texted me about it.
Okay.
Corvette.
What does the Corvette come
Golf
with?
bag, pinky ring, and gold chains.
Pinky ring?
And
Yeah.
and a jacket and a Corvette jacket.
Yes.
Ooh,
gotta
and
be
the
branded.
mast antenna for your radio.
Do you think there's anybody out there burning their Corvette jackets? Like that, you see all the sports
There might be
guys, like
one.
they're like
might be one.
There's guys that throw their jersey and they burn them when their sports favorite sports
Yeah.
guy does something they don't want to do. There's a guy burning his Corvette jacket.
It's possible.
It's certainly possible. All right, we'll see you guys on Friday. Please head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. We'll do this as much as we can. I spent the last couple days figured out, so it actually went the whole thing actually streamed, which has been rare for us.
Kudos to you, Chris. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys on Friday. I'll edit that Bob Garrettson episode, which is a fantastic interview with Bob. He used to race 935s. And it's just a killer interview with some really killer stories about Le Mans and everything else.
Can't wait.
You know I'm into that stuff. Joel, thanks for coming in. Guys, head over to motorauthority.com for all your Motor Authority or motoring news. It's no fluff over there. You just want the news. You want good quality reviews. That's where you want to go. Just, those guys will take care of you over there.
Take care.
See you Friday.